Hi, and welcome back. This is Winder's Ranger. Wanted to share a quick video on a fix that I finally discovered after years of trying to track it down. This is the third brake light from a 2006 Dodge Ram 3500. As far as I know, the third brake light assembly is the same for the 1500, the 2500, and the 3500. And it would be for the model years, I believe it was late 2005 up through early to mid 2007, I think. It may be a little before and a little after that. One of the issues that I finally discovered after several years was I had a leak that developed inside the cab of the truck. And in my case, I think the way that it developed was the leak ran down the passenger side rear window on the inside. If you look at that rear window, it's a three-piece window, the center slider, and then the right and left, or the driver's side and passenger side portions. And in my case, it's because the truck sits on unlevel ground, and I think the water was coming in through the third brake light, running across the inside of the double ceiling, and then it would find its way back to the rear window, and it ran down the inside. And it was only ever just a little bit, enough to leave a streak on the window glass after the water had dried. I've seen photographs online where the leaks were substantially larger, where it had actually filled up the cargo portion underneath the rear seat, if you have a back seat. In my case, I have a four-door. After several attempts and a lot of research online, what I discovered, and this is actually a replacement light that I had purchased, and the reason for the purchase was what I was after was a new seal, or in what I was hoping for was an updated seal. I took the original third brake light out, and the seal was a lot the same as this. Just a cheap, thin foam that really didn't have any kind of substance to it. And after even just a short period of time, this was installed on the truck for maybe 6 months, maybe not even that long. And the seal compressed down to a point that it was almost useless. And what I found was, I'll turn it back around here, if you see where the screws come through, these are the two mounting holes for the screws to attach the light to the truck. There's a plastic portion that's raised around both pockets where the screws go. And I don't know if you'll be able to, if the video will pick it up or not, but on this raised portion, there's a marking on there that's a shadow of where it was pressed up against the inside of the well where this fits on the truck when it mounts to the truck. This was actually riding on the metal part, which wouldn't allow the screws to draw this down any tighter to try to get a better seal with this this foam seal that it came with. So it was crushing this down to a point to where this plastic piece was resting against the inside of the light well and allowing water to basically leak around this seal and come in through here. Where it went from there, your guess is as good as mine, but it ended up running down the inside of my rear window glass. Well, after much research on the internet, I've seen people that have used a heating method to pull this light assembly apart, and they tried resealing the two pieces of plastic where it joins together. They thought that was where their leak was, and in their case that may actually have been the leak. I've seen where people have caulked around the perimeter of the light while it was fixed to the truck, and that can be a little bit messy, and it creates a new issue when you need to replace bulbs in the third brake light. You've got to break that caulking and clean everything up to remove the light housing. What I tried making a new gasket. This is the original one to this, but I took the original light housing once this was installed on the truck, and I realized I still had a leak. I tried making a new gasket with a thicker material, ended up with the same problem. So I pondered it for a little while, and I thought, well, I can get a thicker material and give it another try. And the issue that I perceived that I would have if I did that are that your screws are only so long. So when you run the screw through, you don't really have a whole lot of extra on the other side to work with, that if you make a thick gasket, you may not be able to reach the clip on the inside of the light well to be able to actually reattach the light to the truck. So I decided against using that. Ultimately, what I ended up doing is I used RTV, and I took, see if I can remember correctly, I believe I took the top of the seal off, and I used a razor blade, and I just cut along this bottom edge here someplace on the original light housing, and I put a bead of RTV, it's black rubberized caulking more or less, and I basically just ran right across where the seal had used to be, where the gasket used to be. And once that had set up to a semi-tacky consistency, I went ahead and replaced the screws, pushed it back on the truck, and I used both hands in a firm grip, and I just placed it back into the light well, applied the screws, and it was just a matter of waiting. I even with this replacement, I had put the used the garden hose and tried spraying the top of the truck with water, and I was never able to put enough water on the truck to simulate the leak. Since I had replaced that, about 3 months later, 3 or 4 months later, we had Hurricane, what was that, Irene? It was a hurricane that just recently went through Florida. I already forgot the name of it. But anyway, it dumped more than enough rain to prove to me that the leak is finally fixed. It may not be the easiest fix in the world to be able to pull the light housing out to replace a light bulb, but it's not impossible. And it's also a relatively clean install because your RTV is only on the inside here where you're not going to see it when the light is attached to the truck. It's not going around the perimeter making a mess that you've got to go through and clean up with your finger and whatnot. But it does work. It does fix the leak. I hope this helps. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll do the best I can to answer your question. And if I don't know the answer, I'll do some research and see if I can come up with something to try to help you out. I wish I had come up with the answer to this a long time ago. This is the date on this video is let's see, October 2017. This is a 2006 truck, so it's 11 years old now. I wish I had found this, 5 years ago, 8 years ago. It would have been a lot more useful to folks now that this model year truck is getting up in age. But nevertheless, this is the fix that I found, and I hope this works for you too. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.